Hello, it's Bailey and welcome back to my channel. I am today finally just going to pop in and wrap up May and June. I was in a reading slump and just kind of like a life slump in general. I had a lot going on. I wasn't posting in those months and I didn't read much. I have 9 books to share today, 8 of which I read in May, and I only finished 1 book in June. So yeah, to say the least, I wasn't doing great, but I do want to wrap them up just so I don't like skip over them. You know, I read them. It was a very average reading time as well. Most of these books fell into like the 3-star range, so let's just get into it. I am going to go in my usual order and go from my least favorite to most favorite. I did also recently unhaul books, so I don't have all of these anymore, but I think I did read all of these but one physically. But yeah, I've just gotten rid of some books. So I didn't have any 1 stars, but to start with my 2 stars, the worst thing I read in this period of time was actually probably Where Dreams Descend by Janella Angelis, which sadly was a book club pick. Kayla actually picked this book, and I think we were all under the same impression or had the same just kind of like blah feelings about the book. If you haven't heard of this, it is like a circus competition type book, and it really had no plot or character development. Like, I just felt really disconnected from all of the characters. I couldn't tell who was who. It just was very uninteresting to me. They didn't even like make a thing of the competition. I felt like nothing happened, to be honest. And then next would have been the ebook I read, and I actually got an arc of this book, and it was Happy Endings by, I've heard it pronounced as Tien Kim Lam. I tried to watch a couple interviews to see the pronunciation, but this is a debut by this author, and I really loved her writing, and I would definitely read something else by her. What I didn't love is I just didn't root for the characters in this. It was a romance, and it follows a couple that he broke up with her. They were living together in a different city, and he broke up with her over like a post-it note, and then like left, and now they happen to be in a different city together now also, and it's like a second chance romance. I did think it was very interesting. The main female character, it's been a while since I read this, so I'm not remembering their names, but the main female character like sold sex toys for a living, and I did think it was interesting, but also the like business model felt very like direct sales. But I do think I just would enjoy like a different story by this author. Like I said, the writing was good. The plot was just kind of a miss for me, so I'll give her another chance. Then at 3 stars, I actually was going to try to read this whole series, and I had a crazy weekend. Like, my plan was to bust through this in a weekend, and we thought we got a house that weekend, but that ended up falling through. But I dropped all my plans to like quickly like do a bunch of stuff. So I only ended up reading the first one, but it is The Bad Beginning by Lemony Snicket. I did give this 3 stars. This to me is actually like not something I held as a favorite as a child, but probably what I remember reading like in elementary school the most. So I've been interested to try it again. This series is based off of these like orphaned children, and they have this like terrible uncle who basically just says that he will take care of them because he's looking to get part of their fortune essentially. And so each book they're kind of like tossed back and forth from like caretakers as they're orphans, and this uncle keeps like popping up everywhere trying to sabotage everything. Then I actually finished a series. I had Tools of Engagement by Tessa Bailey, and honestly, as I was making this list, this was pretty like forgettable to me. I do remember the general concept, but not much of actual like scenes that happened. This is kind of like an enemies to lovers situation. In the second book, this couple was kind of introduced, and this guy is new to town because he came to take care of his niece. Like, his sister kind of dipped out. He agreed to take care of her while his sister like got her crap together, and then the female is like the sister of the family we've followed throughout the series. and they just don't like each other at first. They work together, and now in this book they are basically put on a project together to flip a house. This whole series is kind of like house flipping concept. And so they're working together and a romance blossoms, but it is an interesting like found family, like just trying to figure out how they could make their dynamics work. Like I said, he's caring for his niece, and it's a lot of like them learning how, if they want to live together, how like their lives function together. And yeah, it was just okay. Then also my 3 stars, this one actually was like a pretty fun time. I read it super fast, but again, probably isn't going to be the most memorable thing, and it is My Sister the Serial Killer by Oinkan Braithwaite. I think that's how you say it. And the general concept of this is that this girl, her sister, keeps like calling her after she has like killed her boyfriends, and she keeps helping her clean it up after the fact. And then basically a guy that she has a crush on starts talking to her sister, and she's like, please don't date my sister, like it's not gonna go well. And like that's just the general premise. It goes from there. It is a very short book, so if that interests you at all, I would jump into this. Like I said, I read this in less than like 2 hours. Then my last 3 stars is The Chain by Adrienne McKinty. And this one I actually was like completely in love with for the first probably like 75% of. And the general concept of this one is that the main character's child is kidnapped, and they basically find out that in order to get their child back, they have to kidnap another kid. And so this has essentially been a chain for like years. Like people have been having people kidnapped and having to kidnap someone to get their loved one back, like in a chain over and over again. And so basically the first 75% of it, you're following her like finding out all of this, trying to get her, I think it's a girl, her daughter back. And then like also her having to kidnap somebody else and communicate with that family for them to get their child back. And it's very interesting. I was hooked for that, but then I just thought the end went on too long. There was more of a conclusion than I was necessarily looking for. So then I had one 4-star read, and it was The X Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon. This book follows basically like kind of a fake dating, but they're pretending to be exes for this like talk show. They both work for a radio station, and they're looking to jazz it up. They need a new show, so these two pretend to be exes, and they just have to learn a lot about each other in order to do that. And they end up realizing that they might actually like each other essentially, and it's a romance from there. This was honestly a really fun book. It is a little bit like dislike to lovers. I wouldn't say they're really enemies. So yeah, this was a really fun one. And then I had 2 5-star reads, but they go together and they are rereads, and that is The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J Maas, as well as Crown of Midnight by Sarah J Maas. These are rereads. These are both 5 stars for me. I gave these the exact same rating in terms of like my call pile scale. I do usually recommend people read The Assassin's Blade right after reading Throne of Glass. I definitely would read this before continuing onto this. I don't think you necessarily need to read it until before Heir of Fire, but I just recommend doing Throne of Glass, The Assassin's Blade, and Crown of Midnight. I love that series so much, and I'm excited to be doing a reread this year. But yeah, that was everything I read while I was kind of away. I hope you enjoyed this quick little wrap up, and thank you so much for spending some time with me today, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!